Mira lived in a small village far from the big cities. Her life was simple. Every morning she walked to the river to wash clothes. Her mother was sick, her younger brother needed school books, and there was never enough food at home. Her father had passed away years ago. Mira was only 19, but she had carried the weight of the family since she was a child. One evening, as the sun was setting, a long black car stopped near her small house. People in the village stared. It was rare to see such a vehicle there. A tall man in a clean suit stepped out. His name was Mr. Knoll, and he introduced himself politely. "I work for Mr. Rowan," he said. "He is a wealthy man who lives in Sky Hill City. He is looking for a kind and honest girl. He saw a photo of you through a charity group. He wishes to meet you and ask for your hand in marriage." Mira was shocked. "Marriage?" she repeated, unable to believe it. "Yes," Mr. Knoll nodded. "Mr. Rowan is 73 years old. He is alone. No children. He has everything, but no one to share it with. He will take care of your family. You will live a safe and comfortable life." Mira didn't know what to say. Her mother looked at her with tired eyes, holding her brother's hand. They had no money for medicine, no clean water. Her heart beat fast. This was strange, but it felt like a door opening after years of darkness. "Can I meet him first?" she asked. "Of course," said Mr. Knoll. The next day, Mira was taken to a quiet, beautiful place on the edge of Sky Hill City. There, she met Rowan. He was an old man with silver hair and warm eyes. He smiled kindly, walked slowly, and spoke softly. "I know this may feel sudden," Rowan said, "but I've lived a long life, and I don't want to live the rest of it alone. I want someone with a good heart, not someone chasing my money." Mira looked at him. He didn't seem like the rich men she had heard about. He looked tired, but kind. He offered her tea and asked about her village, her family, and her dreams. He listened carefully to everything she said. "I will not force you," he told her. "If you wish to leave, you can." But Mira didn't leave. Something about him felt different. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't proud. And he kept his promise. He sent money to her family, arranged for her mother's treatment, and got her brother into a good school. 2 days later, in a quiet ceremony at the city hall, Mira became Mrs. Mira Rowan. Rowan's mansion was like a dream. It stood alone on a green hill, surrounded by tall glass walls and blooming trees. The sky looked wider from there. Mira had never seen a house like that. Doors opened without touching them. Lights turned on when she walked into rooms. Everything was quiet and strange. The house had only 2 people, Rowan and an old woman named May, who cooked meals and cleaned. May spoke little and never smiled, but she was kind to Mira. Rowan spent most of his time in his study or walking in the garden. He said he needed rest, but Mira noticed something odd. Every night, he would go into a room at the end of the hall and stay there for hours. The door was always locked. One night, Mira asked, "What's in that room?" Rowan gave her a small smile. "Just some old memories," he said. "Nothing important." But something in his voice felt strange, like he was hiding something. Mira tried to live normally. She took walks, read books from the large library, and sometimes painted in the garden. But the mansion never felt like a real home. It was too quiet, too perfect, like it was hiding secrets behind the walls. 1 week after the wedding, Mira woke up early. The house was silent. Rowan was gone. His room was empty. His phone was on the table. His shoes were at the door. No note. No goodbye. Mira walked slowly down the hallway, her heart racing. She stood in front of the locked room. But this time, the door was open. Mira stood still in front of the open door. The hallway was silent. A soft light came from the room inside. Her heart beat fast, and her hands felt cold. She slowly pushed the door wider and stepped in. The room was not what she expected. It looked like a study, but not an ordinary one. There were strange machines against the walls. Some blinked with small blue lights. In the middle of the room was a large desk, covered with papers, old books, and small glass pieces. On one side, a screen showed lines of green code that moved by themselves. Mira had never seen anything like it. She walked carefully around the room. The air smelled different, clean, but almost metallic. On a shelf, she saw books with titles she couldn't understand. Temporal Shift, Biocore Memory, Trail Interface Notes. These were not normal books. She opened one. The pages were full of drawings machines, symbols, and what looked like alien letters. Her eyes widened. What was Rowan doing in here? She whispered. In the corner of the room, behind a dark curtain, she found a staircase. It led downward. The air coming from below was cooler. For a moment, Mira hesitated. Rowan was gone. The house was silent. But something deep inside her said she needed to know the truth. She started walking down. The stairs led to a basement. It was large and clean, with smooth metal floors and glowing lines on the walls. In the center stood a silver door with soft lights running through it. It looked like something from a science fiction movie. Mira reached out and touched the door. It was cold. She searched for a way to open it, but there was no handle, only a small circle on the wall beside it. When she touched it, nothing happened. Frustrated, she looked around. Then she noticed a painting hanging near the stairs, an old picture of a man standing next to a star-shaped symbol. It looked out of place in this modern room. Behind the painting, her fingers found a small switch. Click. The silver door made a soft sound, hiss, and slowly slid open. Mira stepped back in surprise. Beyond the door was a glowing tunnel. Mira walked into the tunnel. The lights on the walls turned on as she moved. The air felt colder here. She followed the path until she reached another room. This one larger and filled with machines she couldn't begin to understand. In the center of the room was a glass pod. Inside the pod was a man. He looked to be around 30 years old. Tall, peaceful, with the same silver hair as Rowan. His eyes were closed. He didn't move. Mira gasped. "It's him," she whispered. "But young?" She looked around. More screens, more machines. On one screen, Rowan's face appeared. Not a live image, but a recording. "If you are watching this," the image said, "then I am likely gone. Or almost gone." Mira stepped closer, staring. At the screen, "My name is Rowan Clay," the message continued. "But not everything you know about me is true. I am older than I appear, not by years, but by knowledge. What I've done here is beyond what most humans understand. And now, I need your help." The screen went dark. Mira stood frozen. She didn't understand everything, but one thing was clear: Rowan had hidden something deep, something impossible. She turned back toward the glowing tunnel. She had so many questions. Where was Rowan now? Who was the man in the glass pod? And why had he chosen her? She walked back to the main floor of the house, her mind full of confusion and wonder. The sun was rising outside. The mansion, so quiet and perfect, now felt like part of a much bigger story, one that Mira had just begun to uncover. Whatever was happening, it was far from normal. And she was right in the middle of it. The house felt different now. Even the quiet seemed heavier. Mira sat in the garden, the breeze brushing her hair, but her thoughts were still trapped underground inside that strange room, with the machines, the glowing tunnel, and the man in the pod who looked like a younger Rowan. She couldn't stop thinking about it. Rowan was gone. There had been no message for her, no goodbye. Just that recording in the secret room where he said, "I need your help." But help with what, and why her? That evening, Mira tried to talk to May, the quiet woman who cooked and cleaned in the mansion. Maybe she knew something. Mira said gently, "Do you know where Rowan went?" May looked up from the kitchen table. She paused for a moment, then said, "He left the house." "But not forever," Mira frowned. What do you mean? May wiped her hands and looked out the window. Mr. Rowan. He is not like other people. You may not understand everything now, but he trusted you. That's why you are here. Trusted me with what? Mira asked, her voice low. May didn't answer. She simply handed Mira a small silver key. What is this for? Mira asked. You'll know when the time is right, May said softly. Then she turned away and went back to her work. That night, Mira lay awake in bed, the silver key clutched in her hand. She remembered the glowing machines and the pod. The key was small and old-looking, with tiny shapes carved into it. When the moonlight spilled across the floor, Mira got up. She walked silently down the hall, passing the locked room where she'd found the staircase earlier. But something else called her attention. Another door at the end of the hallway. It was one she had tried before, but it was always locked. Her fingers trembled as she slipped the key into the lock. Click. The door opened. It led into a narrow hallway with smooth walls. The air was cooler here. Mira followed the path slowly. Her footsteps echoed. At the end of the hallway was another door, this one black, smooth, and unlike anything else in the house. A circle of faint blue light glowed at its center. Mira reached out. The door slid open on its own. Inside was a large, dark chamber. It looked like a lab, but also like a place of rest. There were no windows. Strange symbols glowed on the floor. In the center was a round platform, with 6 tall glass cylinders around it. One of them was empty. The others were filled with a light mist. Mira stepped closer and saw that each cylinder held something. Not machines. Not furniture, but people. Or something like people. They were not awake. They floated inside the mist, their eyes closed, their skin pale. Each one had a small light glowing on their chest. Mira gasped. She stepped back in fear. What is this place? She whispered. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the room. Calm, familiar. Do not be afraid. It was Rowan's voice again, but this time it came from all around her. I wanted to tell you everything, the voice said. But I didn't have time. What you are seeing are not people. Not exactly. They are part of something much older, much greater. Mira looked around, her heart pounding. These are memory vessels, the voice continued. Each one holds a part of knowledge passed down from another world. I was chosen to protect them, but I cannot do it alone anymore. Mira stood in silence. Rowan's voice faded. Only a soft hum remained in the air. She turned back to the hallway, her steps slower. Now, her mind was full of questions. What were these memory vessels? Who chose Rowan? And how was she, a simple village girl, now part of something like this? When she returned to her room, she held the key tightly in her hand. Rowan had trusted her. He had opened a door no one else had. Mira woke up early the next morning. The sun was rising outside, painting the sky with soft pink and gold colors. But her mind was not at peace. She kept thinking about the hidden room, the strange glass cylinders, and Rowan's voice. She quickly got dressed and went to the kitchen, but May wasn't there. The whole mansion felt too quiet, more than usual. Mira checked Rowan's room again. His bed was made, but he wasn't there. His clothes were untouched. The walking stick he sometimes used was still by the door. On the table, his watch was lying beside a small notebook. Mira opened the notebook, hoping for a clue, but the pages were empty. She searched the entire house, first the garden, then the library, then the tall tower room where Rowan liked to sit in the evenings. Nothing. She even called his name through the halls. Rowan, are you here? No answer. Mira felt a strange fear rising in her chest. It was not just worry. It was something deeper, like she was part of something she didn't understand. And now she was left alone to face it. She remembered the silver room beneath the house. Maybe he was there. Mira took the hidden stairs down again. The silver door opened as before, and she walked through the glowing tunnel. The machines in the underground room were still running. The soft hum filled the air, and the screen still flashed with moving lines and symbols. But Rowan wasn't there. The pod with the young man inside remained unchanged. His eyes were still closed. He didn't move. Mira stared at him. She whispered, "Are you Rowan?" No response. She walked around the machines, looking for clues. One screen showed a date and time. The time blinked once, then turned red. Suddenly, a sound came from the corner of the room. A soft click. Mira turned quickly. A drawer had opened by itself. Inside it was a small black box. She picked it up. It was light and cold, like metal. When she touched the top, it lit up, showing Rowan's face again. A message played. Rowan's voice said, "If you found this message, it means the process has started. I am sorry I couldn't tell you everything earlier. You are now part of a very old mission, one that began long before you were born." Mira listened quietly, heart racing. The man in the pod is me, my younger self. I created him through a method I learned from beings far away from Earth. It took many years. I could not bring him to life until the memory transfer was complete. And now, my time in this old body is ending. Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't expect this. "Not so soon. I chose you because you are strong," the voice continued. "You don't care about money or fame. You care about people. That is what the world needs. That is what the future needs." Rowan's image disappeared. The box turned. Dark. Mira sat down on the cold floor, her mind spinning. She had married an old man to help her family, but now she was sitting in an underground lab next to a sleeping young version of him, with secrets older than she could imagine. Was she dreaming? No. Everything was real. She wiped her tears and stood up. Rowan had trusted her. He had prepared all of this for her to find, for her to choose. But what was she supposed to do now? Mira went back upstairs and stepped into the garden. The wind was cool and birds chirped in the trees. The mansion looked peaceful again, but she knew it was only the surface. Beneath it, something much bigger was happening. She looked at the sky. Maybe Rowan was still here in some way. Watching. Waiting. She made a quiet promise in her heart. "I will find out the truth," she said softly, "and I will help you, even if it meant stepping into a world far beyond her own." The next day, Mira stayed inside the house. She didn't open the curtains. She didn't walk in the garden. Her mind was too full of questions. She sat in the library with Rowan's notebook in her hands, flipping through the blank pages over and over again. She hoped to find a hidden clue, anything. But it remained empty. She whispered to herself, "What do I do now?" Then she remembered the man in the pod, the young version of Rowan. Maybe he held the answer. Maybe the transfer Rowan spoke about wasn't complete yet. Maybe she was the one who had to finish it. Mira made her way down to the secret room once more. She knew the path now, the staircase, the silver door, the glowing tunnel. The machines welcomed her with soft humming sounds. Lights blinked gently on the walls. The young man was still inside the glass pod. His face looked peaceful. His skin was pale, but not lifeless. He looked as if he was simply asleep. Mira walked closer and placed her hand on the glass. "You are him." "I know it," she said softly. "But how do I wake you up?" She looked around the room for something, anything that might help. She noticed a small table in the corner. It had a white cloth on top and a round crystal placed in the center. Next to it, a metal glove sat on a red cushion. The glove looked delicate, but had wires running from the fingers. Mira slowly picked up the crystal. It felt warm in her hands. As she held it, the machines in the room began to blink faster. The air felt charged. Then, a soft voice spoke from a speaker above. "Memory core recognized. Activation possible." Mira gasped. She stepped back, holding the crystal close. The screen nearby came alive again, showing old Rowan's face just like before. "Mira," his voice said gently, "this is the final step. The crystal holds my mind, my memories, my thoughts, my life. You must place it in the heart core beside the pod. Then the transfer will begin. My old body is already gone, but my true self can live again if you help me." The screen turned off. Mira stood in silence. She looked at the pod. At the young man's still face, then at the crystal in her hand. Her heart beat faster. Could she really do this? She took a deep breath, stepped forward, and found a round slot near the bottom of the pod. The shape matched the crystal perfectly. With shaking hands, she placed the crystal into the slot. It slid in smoothly. Suddenly, the room glowed bright blue. The machines began to move. The glass pod filled with light, and the man inside opened his eyes. Mira gasped and stepped back. The young man blinked slowly. His eyes moved around, adjusting to the light. Then they rested on Mira. He didn't speak, but a small, calm smile touched his lips. He was awake, and he was aware. Pod opened with a soft hiss. The man stepped out carefully, his body weak but steady. Mira rushed to his side, unsure what to do. "Are you Rowan?" she asked quietly. The man looked at her, eyes filled with something familiar, something old and kind. He nodded once. His voice was soft. "Yes, I am." Mira couldn't believe it. He sounded just like the old Rowan, but now he was young. Standing before her in a body that looked full of life, she helped him sit down on a nearby chair. "I didn't know if it would work," she said. "You just disappeared. And then your message said I had to finish it." Rowan looked around. "Slowly, you did well," he said. "Better than I ever hoped." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Rowan said, "Mira, I'm not just a rich man. I found something many years ago, technology from another world. I was part of a team long ago who discovered it. Everyone else gave up or tried to hide it, but I kept working. I built this body to carry on my work. But I needed someone to trust, someone good." He looked at her. "And I chose you." Mira felt her eyes fill with tears. Not from sadness, but from something bigger. She was no longer just a poor girl from a quiet village. She had helped bring someone back to life, not through magic. Rowan sat quietly in the chair, his eyes closed for a moment. His breathing was slow, calm. The machines around him made soft beeping sounds. Mira stood nearby, her hands shaking slightly. The young man before her looked strong and full of life. She still saw the same gentle soul as the old Rowan. He opened his eyes and looked at her. "Thank you," he said, his voice clear but soft. "Without you, I would not be here." Mira pulled a chair and sat across from him. "You said this body is new, but how? How is any of this possible?" Rowan nodded slowly, as if he expected the question. "It's time you knew everything," he said. "I didn't tell you earlier because I wasn't sure if the transfer would work. But now that I'm here, you deserve to know the truth." He looked around the glowing room, then back at Mira. 40 years ago, I was part of a small science team. We were exploring deep mountains in South America. That's when we found something buried under the rock, something not made by humans." Mira's eyes widened. "What was it?" "A ship," Rowan said. "But it didn't look like any ship we've ever known. It was smooth, silent, and glowing with lights that moved like water. We didn't know who made it. But inside we found tools, machines, and knowledge." He pointed to the machines in the room. "Some of this came from there," he continued. "I studied it for years. Everyone else was scared. Some tried to destroy the research, but I couldn't stop. I knew it was something important, something that could change everything." Mira leaned forward, listening carefully. "So, you used their technology to create a younger version of yourself?" Rowan nodded. "Yes, I didn't want to live forever. That was never my goal. But my body was failing. My mind was still strong. I thought maybe I could pass it into a new body. Not to escape death, but to continue the work. The knowledge is too great to be lost. He looked at her with kind eyes. But I couldn't do it alone. I needed someone pure. Someone who could carry the trust. That's why I searched for you. Mira felt her heart beat faster. But I'm just a poor girl from a village. No, Rowan said gently. You are kind, brave, and unafraid of truth. That's what makes you special. Mira looked around the room again. The glowing tubes, the machines, the soft lights. And these others? She asked, pointing to the other glass cylinders. Who are they? Rowan stood up slowly, walking toward them. They are copies, he said. Not of Mibet, of the ancient minds stored in that ship. They are peaceful beings. They did not want to rule or harm. They only wished to share knowledge. I've been protecting their memories here. Why keep it a secret? Mira asked. Because the world is not ready, Rowan replied. If the wrong people find out, they will use this power for control, for war. I've seen how greed works. That's why I built this place in silence. That's why I lived alone. He turned to her again. But now, I don't want to live alone anymore. Mira felt her chest tighten. She had come to this mansion as a stranger. She had married an old man to save her family. But now she stood at the center of something that could change humanity's future. You want me to help? She asked. Rowan smiled. Yes, I need someone I can trust. Someone who sees the world not through money or pride, but through care and honesty. Together, we can protect this knowledge until the world is ready. Mira nodded slowly. Then I will help you. I don't know much about machines, but I can learn. That's all I ask, Rowan said. They walked out of the lab together and up to the surface. The morning light filled the house. The sky was clear, and birds flew high above the trees. The mansion no longer felt cold or quiet. It felt like the beginning of something new. A second chance for Rowan, for Mira, and maybe for the world. Mira stood at the edge of the garden, looking out at the wide sky. The wind moved through the trees, and the flowers danced gently in the breeze. But her mind was far away, deep below the ground where strange machines slept in memories from. Another world waited. Rowan had told her everything. Now it was her turn to choose. Behind her, Rowan stood silently. Though his body was young, his eyes carried the weight of a long life filled with secrets, discoveries, and silence. You don't have to stay, he said quietly. You've done more than I ever hoped. If you wish to return to your village, I'll understand. Mira turned to face him. And if I stay? Rowan looked into her eyes. Then we begin something new. You'll help me continue the work. You'll learn, protect, and prepare. When the world is ready, we'll share this knowledge. Mira stayed quiet for a moment. She thought about her mother, who was now getting better in the city hospital. She thought about her little brother, who had just started school. Both were safe now, thanks to Rowan. Then she looked at him again. I will stay, she said softly. I want to help. Rowan gave a small smile, the kind that reached his eyes. Then we begin today. He led her back inside, but this time, not to the underground lab. Instead, they entered a room on the second floor that Mira had never seen. Before, it was filled with books, charts, screens, and notes. On one wall hung a large map of stars. This is where I do my thinking, Rowan said. The lab below holds the technology. But this room holds the dreams. Mira walked slowly through the room, looking at the charts. Some showed stars. Others showed patterns she didn't understand. What are these? She asked. They're messages, Rowan replied. The ancient minds left behind pieces of information maps, signals, and ideas. Some of them are puzzles. I've spent years trying to solve them. Why puzzles? Mira asked. Because they want us to grow, Rowan explained. They didn't want to give us everything too easily. They wanted us to be ready to earn the knowledge, not just take it. Mira sat at a large wooden table. Rowan handed her a small device, a tablet with simple drawings and notes. "This one is a language puzzle," he said. "You might be better at it than me. Sometimes a fresh mind sees things an old one can't." Myra smiled. "I'll try." And she did. For hours she worked beside him. She asked questions, made mistakes, and learned more than she ever had in her life. Rowan never rushed her. He explained things with patience and calm. By evening, Mira had solved her first piece of the puzzle, a simple pattern that translated one alien symbol into a human letter. Rowan clapped gently. "Well done," he said. Mira laughed. "It was just a small piece, but every piece matters," Rowan said. "You've just taken your first step into a much bigger world." As the sun set, they returned to the garden. They sat beneath the stars, their voices quiet. Mira looked up. "Do you think they're still out there? The ones who made all this?" Rowan nodded. "I do, and one day we may meet them. But we must be ready, not just with machines, but with hearts that know peace, kindness, and wisdom." Mira was silent for a moment. "Do you think the world will ever be ready?" she asked. Rowan looked at her gently. "I believe it can be, if people like you lead the way." The stars above twinkled softly. In that quiet moment, Mira knew her life had changed forever. She had come to this place as a poor girl seeking a better future for her family. But now she was more than that. She was part of something that could shape the future of all people. Not because of her name, not because of her past, but because she chose to stay. To help. To believe.